My most viewed videos on this channel are analyzing the errors Brett Cooper made when she falsely accused Fresh and Fit of leading men astray. That video she made that I broke down was a very disappointing display of intellectual unseriousness and emotionality. Really, she just had no idea what she was talking about. And she falsely demonized Fresh and Fit in ways that didn't even make sense. And then a couple days later, one of my next most viewed videos, Ben Shapiro said that Andrew Tate didn't tell men to work hard. The Daily Wire must be trying to consolidate their control on my generation, but the problem is we can easily see through this. So with this next video that Brett Cooper released, titled Gen Z Needs to Grow Up, I want to see exactly what her prognostications are about what Gen Z needs to do. I am Gen Z. I think technically she is too. Actually, I know she is because she's a year younger than I am. Given that she demonized Fresh and Fit instead of the endless displays of degeneracy by radical feminists, my expectations are not very high, sadly.
Welcome back to the comment section. I'm Brett Cooper. I'm sure you guys know this if you watch the show, but I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Gen Z. Half the time I'm making episodes criticizing them. Half the time you guys are shocked because I'm saying Gen Z is doing something right, but it does flip-flop. It's very nuanced. Nothing is black and white, obviously. But in my opinion, I think that we are very aware. We are obviously very passionate, which is a good thing. There's a lot of good things that we can be doing and some good things that we are doing. I also think, contrary to many people's beliefs, I do think that Gen Z is smart. I just think that we are misguided in a lot of ways. And much of that goes back to our parents, even though we love them in the ways.
Fresh and Fit is guiding Gen Z to the correct outcomes, particularly young men, telling them you must become important to have a woman love, respect, and admire you. You have to increase your status. You must improve yourself in every domain. And you must do this because feminism has demonized masculinity to such an extent that men can no longer be leaders with 90% of women in the West, because women just construe masculinity as toxic and oppression, and they're exercising their hypergamy at record high rates, which is just an observable statistical reality. So as far as men are concerned, this problem has been studied and has been addressed for years, particularly with Fresh and Fit. So let's hear what Brett Cooper has to say.
Is that we were raised, and there is a TikTok trend going on right now, obviously there always is, that exemplifies this perfectly, so we have to dive in. And basically, TLDR, the one thing you need to know is that the young adults, this is the first one that I saw. And to explain it to people, this is a swipe through trend, so there are two photos. So the first one reads, my parents getting married at 21, 23. And then the next photo says, my brother, unmarried, opening his Easter basket at 29. And this just spiraled. It kept going. Everyone was at home with their families over the weekend. It was all of these 25-year-olds doing Easter egg hunts, opening their Easter baskets.
So that picture is representative of men being losers, meaning that the answer is to tell men they must become impressive, they must not be losers. Not that they should get married like their parents did at 21. To pretend as though the correct advice would be for a man to get married when he's 21. I know a guy that got married when he was 20, and he's getting divorced now. His life's, he's contemplating joining the military because his life is just falling apart, and he's depressed. Telling men to get married young in today's climate, when you see the quality of women that exist in the West, and if you don't, go watch my last video that I uploaded right before this, to show the level of, let's just call them boss queens that we're dealing with. Oh my gosh, I think about that video. That video was such a disaster. The correct advice that guy should be taking on is Andrew Tate's advice. He should be listening to Andrew Tate. He should be listening to Fresh and Fit.
And around Easter, it was just cute and wholesome and funny. Like, it was sweet that these young adults were spending time with their parents. They were going home for the holidays, and obviously that mother is...
I don't think there's anything sweet about opening an Easter basket sitting in your mom's house at 29. I don't think that's sweet.
It's precious for keeping the traditions alive. Diane does the same thing. I love you, Mom, and I love your Easter baskets. Like, for example, one guy commented and said, I'm a 46-year-old dad of 3, and my mom still makes me an Easter basket. Like, it's
then you're a loser.
Very, very pure. That is a good thing. We should not be criticizing.
No, that's not a good thing.
That at all.
You should have, at the age of 46, you should be important, you should be rich, you should be in shape, you should have a submissive, hot, feminine woman who is a mother of many children of yours, and you should be providing money so that she can give Easter baskets to your 6-year-old, to your 9-year-old, to your 12-year-old, to your 3-year-old. Did I mention you should not be fat? Oh, that's going to have the tradcons upset.
But generally in the comments, like, so many people related on a very deep level. One person said, so we're all just children in our 20s here. Another person said, me at 27, my parents did indeed get me an Easter basket. And after that one specific video blew up, just more and more.
It's really fine if, it's not fine, but it's more acceptable if a woman who's 27 is getting Easter baskets from her mom, because who really cares, right? But if you're a guy, in today's day and age when masculinity is demonized, when there is a war against your spirit of being, and you must become important, or you're just going to get decimated. You're going to get destroyed in every domain. Then what are you doing? You should be working to better yourself adamantly in every domain conceivable.
Or kept coming, like this. My mom at 24 raising me at 24 getting second place in our sibling Easter egg hunt. And the photo is just perfect because they're literally on a podium. After a couple weeks of this, the comments started to get a little more astute. Somebody said, no, but this trend is making me wonder why our parents look so much older than we do at the same age. They look mature as hell. Well,
because they had to reflect the objective aspects of reality in order to not be losers. The word loser there is a condensed definition of literally denying multiple aspects of reality. Every generation has their own struggles that they have to overcome. We could spend time talking about what the boomers had to overcome, what the generation after them had to overcome, what our parents had to overcome. But the threat that my generation is facing is vehement anti-reality ideology in the form of left-wing politics. It is anti-masculinity and anti-objective coherent frameworks in any regard. You could throw in, of course, that includes the push for anti-capitalist, anti-meritocratic systems, anti-logic, etc. Those are all objective frameworks. That is a very different set of threats that my generation is facing that no other generation has had to overcome. And I would argue that the necessity to improve yourself, to become important and better yourself in every domain, intellectually, physically, financially, especially as a man, is much greater than even our parents had to. We have to grow up. The impetus is for us to grow up and face the world in a very strong way that even our parents didn't have to, and yet we're doing the opposite of that, as this video demonstrates. Now, the solution to this problem, I think, is not what Britt Cooper is going to suggest. I'm hoping she's not going to say we need to get married when we're young. That would be a disaster, a willful blindness, a total statement of ignorance. The current dating landscape is eviscerated. It's destroyed. Women think masculinity is oppression. Women think masculine leadership is toxic. Women who are 5'4" and weigh 250 pounds think they deserve a 6'4" millionaire. Now, I've already said what my solution is to this, and it's very simple. Instead of complaining about the problems that we're facing, men adapt and overcome. I say we become important. I agree with Andrew Tate. We should become rich. We should become so excellent in the top echelon of existence that any woman that tries to exercise the mind rot of our modern civilization on us gets instantaneously replaced. That is the only way to possibly exist.
it's probably because they were mature, because they were raising children at 24 years old and they were married at 20 years old. And also, they dress like adults all the time. They aren't like us walking around in athleisure half the time pretending that we look cool, but really we just look like we're leaving recess. I'm sorry.
I'm not actually very concerned about the way that we dress because fashion has changed throughout the centuries. I mean, if you looked at the way people dressed in the 1700s versus how they dressed in the 1800s, you would say, okay, people are substantially, like, caring a lot less. Like, it used to be illegal to walk outside of your house as a man if you're not wearing a suit. That used to be a law in parts of Europe. You know what I mean? So
I wear athleisure all the time, but that is what we look like. And then it started to get pretty concerning for a lot of people on social media. Here's one example. So this girl posted, my mom at 22, and it's her parents getting married. And then she posted this text conversation with her mom. What do I do when I walk in again? And her mom said, give them your name. And then she said, I need a script. And the mom does a facepalm emoji. And then she texted and said, do I say that I have an appointment? The mom responded and said, say, hi, I have an appointment at 12 o'clock noon. They will ask for your name. Tell them your name. She says, oh.
Bro, this is really sad. This is sad. But again, it's a woman, so I care less. But if this was a guy, I'm hoping she's not going to say it's marriage.
Okay, thanks.
Don't say it's marriage.
And then text or call if you have any questions or problems. Like this 22-year-old cannot even figure out how to go to an appointment and tell them that she has an appointment. Somebody commented and said, this is sad. Yes, it is. Here's another one. My mom at 21 marrying my dad. Me at 21 texting my mom. And then she said, myself at 21 texting my mom. Can you make sure a tornado isn't coming for me? I can't find the news. These are people that are voting.
It's over. We are screwed.
They can't find the news. I mean, granted, the news isn't great. It's all just CNN and propaganda.
That's pretty funny, actually. That's actually pretty funny. Where's the TV? Where's my phone? Where's the app for news?
Because last year I had to get off of my brother's phone plan, and that was just, I didn't even want to think about it. Somebody else said, this is the most real trend right now. My offspring are 23 and 25, and the difference between me and them, I don't even know what happened. Well, ma'am, Audrey, mother, you're going to figure out what happened. And I'm very sorry to say, but you might have caused some of this. You might have. Just saying, boomers, Gen X, you might have caused it.
Correct. The weakness in reveling in anti-objective reality ideologies such as postmodern neo-Marxism is an existential civilizational level failure. Now, will Brett Cooper say that?
Right.
Oh, and as well, its manifestation in the feminist ideology. But boomers are all about feminism. It's pathetic. They don't even know what they're talking about. I mean, when you talk to a boomer and they're like, "Oh, I love feminism," it's like they don't know that women are dressing up as, witches, screaming into the microphone, "I'm a witch," while they take their children who are 5 and 6 years old to a drag queen performance at their middle school, where the drag queen says, "Let's all repeat after me, free Palestine." And they do this to resist the patriarchy. They have no idea what the world has even devolved into. And they're still like, "Oh yeah, feminism's really great, isn't it? Feminism's fantastic. Oh, boss queen energy."
For good measure, this is the last one. Okay. My mom getting married to my dad at 20. What is the address to my doctor? Am I taking any medications? Are you going to text me what to say to them? And this is what her mom responds. You started coughing 10 days ago on Saturday night. That night, you started NyQuil. You went to urgent care on 4/3, and they told you that it was allergies and prescribed you Flonase and prescription allergy medicines.
These people are voting for Biden.
Sick, and your mom knows more about your illness than you do. It is comical. Some said, why does Gen Z infantilize themselves so much?
Yes, oh, okay, I was about to say the word infantilize, yeah. The left actually requires people to be infantilized because it says you don't have to take on responsibility for anything. Not just taking on responsibility for the world. You don't actually have to take responsibility for anything. And the reason for that is because they insist the individual identity doesn't exist. They say that the group identity is all that matters. And so when you primarily identify with the group identity of the left-wing ideology, you get called a good person, you get good person status, and all you have to do is adhere to the hierarchy order of victimhood. So the more hypothetically victimized you are, the better of a person you are. And as long as you adhere to that structure, if you will, the ranking system, then you have your identity taken care of. You don't have to take responsibility for anything because they're morally relativistic and nihilistic. And you get called a good person because you've realized that the correct way of organizing the world is in terms of power disparities, and that the more victimized you are, the better of a person you are. It's all reprehensible nonsense.
And then he said, I've been feeling this way for 2 years, but I couldn't really put it into words until now. I'm kind of weirded out by how people on the internet are infantilizing themselves. You are totally spot on. But most importantly, they have not been forced to grow up at all.
Acknowledge to the left, acknowledge feminism, acknowledge Marxism, acknowledge anything, Brett Cooper. There's only 2 minutes left in this video.
This is the generation that is the product of helicopter parenting, and we are
Do not say get married.
seeing the results every single day. We are seeing that this did not work. Another person on Reddit said they do that because adults infantilized them growing up. Gen Z lived a much more sheltered and structured existence relative to previous generations. And not to mention, it has become cool and desirable to be a victim. I mean, think about all the social contagion that comes with depression and other mental illnesses, where people are self-diagnosing online because it's a trend. It's trendy and cool to make TikTok videos about it. Like, I would bet that there is an appeal to act this sort of way and get babied and then avoid all responsibility from a social point of view. Like, that is a cool, interesting thing. Another person said,
why? Can you say why to your audience?
Because people in your generation are f***ing children who act like toddlers. That's, putting it simply. Where does this
Can you say why to your audience of 4 million subscribers?
come from? Honestly, I think it comes from the constant coddling you all get from your parents and teachers who treat you like you are 5-year-olds regardless of how old you are. It's harsh, but it's true. And obviously, I do not think that these parents had any malintent. I think that they genuinely believed that they were protecting and helping their children. Like, I'm sure that they
Insufficient analysis.
thought that they were protecting their kids, but solely on school and getting into a good college instead of working, going out into the world and gaining real life experience. Themselves. College degrees are becoming
And they're right. It's all in alignment with the inversion of reality. They simultaneously want to dismantle the economy because it's oppressive and judges them for their insufficiency, while they can't even get out of bed and book their own doctor's appointment. You see, they want to remove capitalism, the force that literally built the world. I mean, it built the city behind her, it built the building she's in, it built air conditioning, it built the technology that these losers at Starbucks are using to say communism is the future. This is a direct derivation from Marx's ideology manifesting itself in a generation that doesn't want to take responsibility or hold an individual identity. So there's clearly an ideological link here, but Brett Cooper hasn't said it yet.
less meaningful by the day, and they have minimal work and intern experience when they enter the workforce. Like, it is a mess. But the thing is, we can't fully blame Gen Z for this. I mean, between the parenting styles and COVID and online school and growing up fully in the digital age like no generation before them, not to mention the current financial instability that exists.
So you're just continuing to describe the problem, and you haven't posed a solution, and you demonize Fresh and Fit, who do provide solutions. The Daily Wire demonizes Andrew Tate, who literally provides solutions to this. The only person you guys haven't demonized who provides solutions is Jordan Peterson. I guess that maybe is because he's a part of the Daily Wire. Our generation is failing, Brett Cooper. And you haven't actually said why. But you know what? maybe you could argue you said why in really low resolution format when you said they're not taking responsibility for their lives. Fine. You didn't provide a solution. Provide a solution. Men who have recognized this problem have been working for years to provide solutions. That's what the Fresh and Fit podcast is, to wake men up to see how destroyed modern women are in our generation, how completely disconnected from, not just disconnected, that these women are actually enemies with reality, that feminism has told women rejecting masculinity, demonizing as toxic is just the beginning. The women that are going on the Fresh and Fit podcast these days are overtly enemies with truth itself. Their adversary is reality. And Fresh and Fit is showing young men that this is the reality so that we don't have to walk in blind and be like, oh, I'm going to marry these obviously good women who should be mothers and, wives. Or Andrew Tate when he says, become important, become rich so that you don't have to deal with this low-level disgustingness. But in arrogance and ignorance, you demonize those people and you haven't provided a solution.
They can't figure stuff out. So for the next generation...
What's pathetic too is that there are a lot of tradcons. I can already see them in the comments, with their low IQs and their insufficient thinking, being like, oh, the solution is obvious, just do what I did 25 years ago. Not even beginning to understand even 1% of the problem that our society is facing. So instead of commenting that down below, actually ask yourself why Andrew Tate got famous. Ask yourself why the divorce rate is at an all-time high and 80% of the divorces are initiated by women. Ask yourself why hypergamy, you don't even know what the word hypergamy is because you're a boomer. So learn what hypergamy is and then ask yourself why hypergamy is manifesting itself at record high rates, which is fine, men just adapt. But that adaptation, guess what? Hinges on increasing your status, becoming richer, and bettering yourself in every domain, which by the way, you should be doing anyway. There's such a massive learning curve here that some men are already past and the people down here, especially the tradcons, that because I'm putting leftists out of the equation, right? Because they've already rejected reality. They're over off in their own delusional land behind the reality walls, I put it. So to your credit, you're ahead of them. But the tradcons are still so far behind. They don't realize how far behind on this learning curve they are to the men who have realized what's been going on for the last 2 years in terms of the modern dating landscape and the exact problems our society is facing. They are so out of touch. Out of touch. They're not even playing the same game. They don't even aware of the same problems. And so they basically admit how pathetic they are every single time. They're like, oh, get married when you're young. Complete morons.
Something needs to change. Kids need to be pushed out of the nest, even if it is uncomfortable for parents. They need to have their independence.
Oh, are we getting a prognostication now, finally?
And it's fostered, and they should obviously
20 seconds before the video ends?
be loved by their parents.
Okay. They should be forced to move out.
But they should be encouraged to grow up and mature. Because somehow, with my generation...
No, don't. That can't be the extent of it, right? Surely not. Move out and mature?
I think we missed the mark.
She demonized Fresh and Fit to say this. Move out of your parents' house and mature. Oh my gosh. You compare that advice to the advice that Fresh and Fit gives, the advice that Andrew Tate gives, and it's just that's insane. Oh, we are living in a world of people. Intellectual dishonesty or intellectual insufficiency. Which is it? Or a combination of both? Or is she not in control of what she's saying? It doesn't actually matter. What matters is this is a failure. What matters is people are demonizing men with solutions, men with answers. This video didn't actually help anybody. And Fresh and Fit helps people daily. Literally daily. I'm trying to fast forward in my head to see what the future will look like in 10 years. I think what's going to happen is the people that can't accept or can't do their own investigation into truth, meaning they're not interested in truth, will just be ultra divided from men who have discovered through their hungriness to better themselves, Fresh and Fit. They've learned, how to increase their credit score. They've learned how to get rich in various different businesses. They've learned that it's important to get into good shape, and they've learned the intricacies of female nature by studying hypergamy and understanding intersexual dynamics. And there's going to be an ultra wide divide between those who can tolerate reality, and really that's all that's required. But then there's another layer of men who enjoy understanding reality and then using objective frameworks, put themselves at the top of the distribution. And then there's just the endless freak shows. What I had not anticipated was that a part of the endless freak shows that are denying reality would be people on the right. Unfortunately, that's what's happening here when we see them demonize people like Fresh and Fit or Andrew Tate. Yeah, sorry, people don't want to be like you, Jerry from Ohio with a net worth of $2.5 million. They'd rather be like Andrew Tate driving in a car that costs $5 million. Kickboxing world champion, adored by supermodels, pinnacle of masculine achievement, says what he wants, does what he wants. If you're too blind to understand why men listen to him instead of you, you are equivalently on the left in terms of your reality denial. I want to save as many people as possible from this reality denial, and that's why I'm making videos about this, because this is completely insufficient. Subscribe to the channel, guys.